Welcome back and welcome in, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining me. I'm just pulling out a couple of different cards that I don't normally use, but I said, you know what, let me check them out. This is one of those that has the descriptions. I don't really need that, but sometimes just to pull on some energy a little different, or just to do some confirmation of some other cards. I thought I'd pull. I do have a bunch of decks. I usually stick to my Rider-Waite decks. I don't know why. I'm traditional in that sense, I guess. But before we get started, I just wanted to ask everyone, if you're here, please like and subscribe. If you like this content so far, or have seen any of my other videos, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm brand new channel, literally just doing this for a couple of days. My first couple videos were pretty basic, simple as far as my setup goes. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with this. I recently moved and I kind of just am figuring out how I want to do this. So we'll see as some time goes on. I figured we're coming up on March 13th, Friday the 13th. And, you know, what's funny is I'm not necessarily big on Friday the 13th. I know it's a huge deal to a lot of people. I believe it's all just propaganda from the Jason movies, and who doesn't love Jason? But, you know, hey, it is what it is. I do like the energy sometimes, though, where what people pull on Friday the 13th, it almost feels like a paradox sometimes. And I always tell people, if you were to get to know me, I'm one of those people. I feel like I am a walking paradox. I feel like I live in a paradox, like between spirituality and the material world, the way that I'm heavily clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and I am a medium, so you never know what's going to come through. I figured I'd start with this, my mirrored deck, and we've got some Queen of Wands energy coming as I cut the deck there. So we'll see. Got some fire energy. Some fire. All right. All right, I'm just trying to get situated. Sorry for that sound. I'm just messing with my stool here so I can get comfortable. But let's see what we've got. All right. You know what? I just realized. Let me light my little candle here. You know, I did a reading the other day. I don't quite know if I posted it or not, but I had just bought this candle the other day, and it is actually called Harvest Apple, and I love that name. I always feel like, you know, what do we do when we manifest? We harvest, right? So, I don't know, I saw the name and I said, you know what? Let's see what we're manifesting, right? Let's see what we are, what's coming in this Friday the 13th. All right, new 1 and 2. We are in, it almost feels like we're in flow. We're Ace of Wands, 2 of Wands, right? We're moving in order. An offer. This feels like love. It feels like you've got someone, or that you are manifesting an offer from a person who's done a lot of soul searching and thinking. Why is this a recurring theme in my readings? If you've seen the last couple, like I said, I'm a new channel, so far I've only posted a couple of videos. I think this has come out in almost all of them. Are we going back to a recurring theme? I've talked about this, as aside from just love and maybe whoever it is that you're here looking for confirmation for your specific person. Aside from it maybe being them up at night, you know, in terms of you or the relationship, lately it feels like that's the state of the world that we're in. Everyone is up, stressed, whether it's finances or families torn apart from what's happening in the world. Lots of different things happening. I feel like that overall is a major theme in our collective energy overall. No matter what situation you're going through in life, all of us, I think, know someone that, or if not ourselves, we know someone who is going through something pretty heavy. You know, times are changing. And let's see what else we got here. Let me know. I think I kind of was able to resituate my camera stand a little bit, so there's some more space for cards to be seen. Oh, and Emperor. The Emperor has shown his face a lot to me too in the last couple of days. I actually did a short. I don't know if I posted that or not. I've been trying to do a few things to kind of amp up the channel and really get it going. Man, you've got that masculine energy of control. The Emperor building his empire is what he wants to do. Oh, well, we've got a lot of this going on, except this is the first time seeing this. We've got, yeah. So we've got, all right, so Six of Wands has come out, I want to say, in at least 2 of my readings. One with using this deck, and one, I believe, when I used, I believe it was this deck here. The Six of Wands came out. Ace of Cups. So we've got Ace of Wands, Ace of Cups. You have someone who, it almost feels like prior to this time period of change, you had someone only offering you basic material world, like the physical connection. I don't know, maybe you were just hooking up, maybe it was just you know, simple without any kind of commitment. It feels like you had an Emperor who was trying to maintain control over not having emotions right now, and that is a recurring theme. As I said that, I'm like, I feel like I'm doing the same type of reading over and over again the last couple of days. It's kind of, I don't normally have that. So it's actually interesting. I've done lots of different readings for people, and it's not always the same energy. But the last few days, every time I go to record, I get a lot of the same energy. So it's interesting. I feel like I'm tapping into a general energy for whoever comes across my videos and this resonates. If you're drawn in to watch, you have a masculine who has been in his Emperor phase, or at least that's what he's been telling himself. You know, being that selfish guy who, maybe he's not necessarily selfish in a narcissistic way, but I think he probably went through a lot of phases in his life where he didn't feel like he really had control. Maybe he was a person who in years prior kind of bounced from relationship to relationship without ever really taking time for himself to reflect. And so it feels like you've got someone who finally decided to take that time to reflect, telling themselves, you know what, I've gotten older, I can't keep continuing to repeat the same cycles. And that's what they're doing here. They're going within and analyzing the world around them. That's what that Two of Wands energy is about for me, right? Setting their goals, trying to analyze maybe their previous goals. What did I reach? What didn't I reach? What do I need to change? in terms of love, I think they're thinking of, you know, what has worked and hasn't worked in their past relationships, and it feels like they don't want to repeat cycles. But if you're here for someone specific, kind of like in other readings that I've done recently, they're up at night because of you, because you stimulated them in a way that they weren't trying to feel right now, at least in the time period that they've been in. But you've come in, and this is, you know, a lot of times this is a victory card, but what I would say the victory here is that you won their heart. You won their heart. That's what the victory is here. And you've put them in this place of emotion, and they're up at night because they're battling whether or not to really commit to and give you this emotional offer. Do I want to keep going with this deck? Let's, you know what? Let's oh, look who's at the bottom. The Magician. Yeah, you've got someone who's working on manifesting. This reminds me of, again, another reading that I did in the last few days. You've got someone who's working on manifesting a whole new life. It's not just about committing to you. Like, committing to you is a big piece of the puzzle. But overall, if they move into commitment, it's like moving into that the entire next phase of life. And I think you caught them at a time where they weren't necessarily thinking of that. And I think it almost kind of feels like you kind of gave them like a little bit of a violent shove into emotion. You've pushed them into their emotions, and I feel like they're fighting it because, again, they just keep saying that they weren't in that space. They weren't looking for it. Right? Let's see. See what are we manifesting on this Friday the 13th? If you are here for a specific person, what is this connection going to manifest into? Ooh. You know what I read this as? Because I said, what is this connection manifesting into? Remember how I said that this person, what's probably held them back before, was not just committing to you, but it's the next level of life. It's family, kids, no longer, although I don't feel like it's necessarily about being single and playing the field. It's just no longer being single to where they would have to consider somebody else's feelings when it comes to the decisions that they make, right? Like when we're involved with someone, we have to, we have a responsibility to take their feelings into consideration as well as our own, right? This feels like all the opportunities that are coming in for them, they do see the opportunity and all the changes and all the ways. You know, a lot of times Seven of Cups is about, you know, options and the chaos of it. Like, a lot of people don't like it because it's like, if you're dealing with a specific person who's been single, sometimes, you know, we get in our heads and we think that, like, all they want to do is play the field, and they're worried about keeping their options open and keeping a roster, right? I don't believe that this Seven of Cups has anything to do with the options of a roster. I believe it's about the many, the fact that we're coming in underneath our wands over here It feels like they're reflecting on all the new opportunities. And it actually feels overwhelming, and that's probably another piece of the puzzle that has them up at night. It's overwhelming to think of, you know, let's just say, here's you, here's the family, here's the extended family that comes along with it, and the new home life, and combining each other's friends and families together, and holidays, and you know, they can no longer be that solo person, you know, that lone wolf. I feel like this person in that Emperor energy was comfortable being a lone wolf for a while. So again, it feels like they were not looking for love when they found you. So but you've got them thinking about all the ways that their world would change. That's what that Seven of Cups is. It's not options. It's opportunity for change, which is two totally different things. If that makes sense to anyone. I hope that makes sense of the way that I laid it out. You know, what's funny is sometimes I'll get these channeled messages, and when I'm trying to relay it in words, sometimes I don't feel like I've really spoke it in the right way, you know. See what we got here. So we're manifesting new opportunities and new things in life. It almost feels like too, I know another new opportunity too is career. It almost feels like that's another thing that might be overwhelming to think about. Like if you're dealing with someone who may be at a distance from you, and they would have to a commitment to you would also mean them moving. That would also mean that another new thing that they would have to manifest and work on is a new job, right? They'd have to, you know, if they're lucky enough, maybe they can transfer companies depending on how where they work. Or, you know, they have to, that's another piece of the puzzle. And again, it's a new opportunity, but it can be overwhelming. You ever sit and, you know, you can get excited about, like, I've done it before. I've moved states away from my hometown, and you know, at first you tend to be excited about moving, like when you're thinking about all the different opportunities, but then when you really sit down and look at it, and you look at all the things that, if you ever had to make a list of all the things that you'd have to do to achieve, you know, that end goal of moving, it can be overwhelming. You can almost talk yourself out of it, you know, just because it feels so big. I can tell you that I've done that many times, even just with creating this channel. I finally just decided, you know what, I moved, I'm starting over new, so I'm going to finally start my tarot channel. Yep. They're in their mind balancing all of these things that are going on in their life in terms of the change. Do I move forward with this emotional offer? Do I commit? Do I move from being this lone wolf into the next phase of life? Balancing that mind. Celebrating. You may also have a person, for some of you, this is about celebrating that new space that and those new opportunities. You're moving into that space. For some of you, I hate to say though, you have someone who also potentially has to clean up other relationships in terms of ending other connections in order to move forward to be with you. Like I said earlier, they weren't necessarily some person who was playing the field and had a big roster, but it feels like other like family ties. Maybe there was another person that they were involved with at a certain point that they were still kind of loosely connected to family commitments, helping parents, helping children. It feels like endings to third parties, as well as celebrating that, right? Because this could literally mean both. It could represent third party. It can represent celebration. And the reason why I read it both ways is because it's going to, this is a general read. It can reach many different people, and it's going to be a little different for everybody. Let's see if I can pull maybe one or two more for current Friday the 13th energies. What is coming in? Let's solidify this message here. What are we working towards? Oh. I'm not sure. I don't believe that this has to do with your specific person's heartbreak. It feels like they've got to break some hearts in order to move this forward with you. So again, it's not that this other person had a roster of people, but because they still live their lives like a lone wolf for a while. But, you know, even if you live like a lone wolf, sometimes you have some people that maybe you stayed loosely connected to for physical pleasures. Let's put it that way, right? And again, it's not about playing the field. It's just, you know, sometimes we'd have to clean up our lives. We gotta break some hearts. We gotta end certain social media connections that we've kept just because, you know, we weren't connected before, so we were allowed to move freely as we wanted, right? If someone commits to you, though, they have to suddenly, potentially out of respect for you, cut off those other connections that they've had, even if it's something as simple as, you know, someone that they only ever talked to on social media, flirted with on social media. You know, I think a lot of people can agree that we would feel a little awkward if a person wants to commit to us, but then is still liking half-naked pictures of other people on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, right? Like, that's not respectable. So it feels like this person knows that they've got to do a little bit of heartbreaking to some other people for you. If they're going to commit to you, again, it's funny as I say that, it's another part of the many things that would have to be done in order to move forward towards you. Like, there's multiple things. There's good opportunities, but there's also just things that have to be handled. That's what this is about. So maybe it is a little bit of chaos in here, at least in their mind, right? I don't think it's as chaotic. I don't feel like you have like I said, I don't feel like you've got a person who's a major player. But there's still always loose ends that we have to clean up if we're going to commit to someone, right? I think you actually have someone who, they don't want to start off a commitment dirty. And what I mean by that is, you know, having other things infringe upon this connection, and you know, you want a clean slate, you want a clean start. You don't want some other person coming around saying, well, do you know that he was in my inbox last month? Well, that was last month. So they're battling it. Even though underneath they understand and know that with you they would have abundance. I think it feels overwhelming to them to have to face things that maybe they were just ignoring before. That's what it feels like. You know, like by not being committed to anybody, you don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have to deal with any of that. It almost feels like this person has actually been in what I would call sloppy relationships before, where there were infringing parties and there were all these other things that kind of popped up, and it kind of jaded the relationship. And so this person, you know, we've got balancing mind, but because of these other things that they have to deal with, they're battling over whether or not to even bother, is what it feels like. But the thing is that they know that they would have a beautiful life with a 10 of Pentacles. They would have the ultimate abundance with you because they do love you, right? My cup runneth over. I love that saying, right? Emotions that they feel so strongly that they just can't contain them, that it overflows, right? And look at that. Bottom of the deck for this one is the King of Cups. Man of emotion, right? That masculine energy is in their emotions. They have cleanup work to do. They know it. I'm going to try this. I really have never used this. This is called, what is this called? Witch's Wisdom Oracle cards. And it doesn't come with a book or anything, so we're just gonna, let's see what we get. Let's see, what's the final outcome for this read in terms of the next moves this person is going to make with this connection? What's going to happen here? 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 What do we have? The Witch, which says healer. Yep. You know what? I feel like this card is a representation of all those things that they're healing, that cleanup that they're going to do in order to come forward after doing that reflection. Your Emperor is healing their past and cleaning up their part so that way they can move forward into this abundance, as much as they may be afraid to, or just simply It almost feels like they were telling themselves that they were if I can speak correctly, it almost feels like they were telling themselves that they were comfortable being that single solo emperor. And you know what? I think that everybody for a period of time can absolutely enjoy some time being, just alone. You have to, in order to really be healthy minded, you've got to know how to be your own best friend, right? You have to be comfortable with yourself. And I feel like this person, that's the stage that they were in, is that they were giving to themselves, right? They told themselves that they needed to clean up, they needed to heal, right? We've got the witch as the healer. Let's look at that. A healer. And I like that. I do. They're cleaning up all their loose ends. That's what they would have to do to move forward, and it feels like they are. It feels like they are. Let's see. Let's see what else we can get. I was just thinking here. Channeling, really. This is definitely somebody that you already know. And they have definite, overwhelming emotions for you. So what is it? What is going to happen with this connection, Spirit? Let's see. What is going to happen with this connection? What do we have? Oh. I like this. Rebirth. What did I say? What is going to happen with this connection? This connection is getting a reboot, a rebirth, right? They're cleaning up those loose ends, healing themselves, cleaning up any third parties, whether that is love related or family related, just previous obligations, whatever that might be. For some, it is a third party. It's exes. I hate the expressions baby mamas and baby daddies, but for some, that's what it is. You know, a previous person that they have a child with or multiple children with. And they're cleaning up how they handle that, you know. Healing old heartbreaks, potentially breaking other people's hearts, or just breaking up the old dynamics of the way that they were letting, things flow. Let's pull one more out of this deck. Pull one more out of this deck. One more for me, please, Spirit. One more. One more for me. Do we have one more? You're going to let me sit on this. We're stubborn. Oh. Book of Shadows. Secret. Book of Shadows. Book of Shadows. It feels like they're cleaning up that space so when they come forward, there are no secrets, right? So Book of Shadows, we've got, and the image is an open book, right? I feel like they're doing this cleanup, and this person who's going to come to you wants to come clean, wants to come healed, so they can give kind of a reboot and rebirth to this connection that you guys have already kind of had. For some of you, maybe you've already established a connection. Other people, it's been a very loose one. Maybe it was just a friends with benefits. Maybe it was just simply a hookup. And it was clear, though, that over time, there was more brewing there, right? And from that, emotions started running. And so your person has been working to manifest new beginnings, and they've been looking at the opportunities, looking at all the things, healing all of the chaos. As more cards have come out, it definitely feels like planning out other opportunities, cleaning up all the chaos. All the cups, all the different cups represent all the things that they're needing to clean up, both good and bad. Or, I can't say, you know, not everything is necessarily just lands as a good or bad thing, you know. There's a lot of kind of, I always love the saying of, you know, nothing is as simple as black and white, because there is a lot of gray. And that's what it feels like. They're trying to clean up that gray area. And when they do come forward to you, they want to be an open book. They're going to be an open book to you. Do I want to pull anything else? Let's see. You know what? I don't normally do... A lot of times when I read, I don't necessarily feel to do a very long reading, because the cards always kind of play right into the energy that I've been feeling. And it lets me keep my readings relatively short. But let's this Crystal Spirits Oracle book, I like the messages that come through on the Crystal Spirits book. I often find that it resonates. I actually did a reading the other day where I used this. I don't believe I uploaded it though, because I had an issue with the editing. I really try and not to do any editing. I kind of told myself I want to just keep this channel as real and raw as possible. You know, when you get into too much editing, you're taking away from that raw energy, you know, and by all that editing, it's like you're manipulating it. And maybe it's because I'm a person who I have been manipulated by narcissism in life. I don't like manipulation. I like to just be real and raw and put it out there. So to be honest, sometimes even when I'm reading, you know, kind of like, I feel like this Seven of Cups, it kind of evolved and changed into where it got taken, just because as more cards were revealed, you know, we kind of saw a bigger picture. So, you know, some people would edit out certain things that they said about it because they said, oh, that doesn't sound right. You know what? I'm just going to leave it in. It's real and raw, because there's different messages for everybody in here. That's the way tarot works. That's the way energy works. If you were drawn into this reading, I'm sure, and you've made it this far. You've made it this far in. Where are we? We're over 30 minutes. So if you've made it this far in, something has had to have resonated by now, and that's why you're still here. So I'm going to shut up for a quick second and just feel the cards. I noticed this particular deck, I think it's because they're so big and they're a little bit bulky, they don't really flip. So I'm just going to pull one. But let me just channel, and I'm going to pull when I feel called to. Give me a second. Aura light. Kind of like that name, aura. Aura light. Number 8. I love number 8 because I'm all about infinity. My favorite, one of my favorite symbols from the time I was very young was the infinity symbol. I was just fascinated by this idea of infinity, you know, infinite energy, infinite possibilities, infinite, we are infinite evolution. All right, aura light. Let's see if this kind of lines up with the rest of this reading here. The essential meaning, mindfulness, meditation on the present. Well, I would definitely say that you've got a person who is being mindful about cleaning things up so that way they can stay true to you, bring you themselves real with no secrets and be an open book. So I would say that's mindfulness right there. To be mindful is to be aware of the now rather than distracted by the past or future and any thoughts of oughts, shoulds, and might have. Sorry, my brain tripped out for a second there. Your quest for healing requires discovering what you are truly thinking and feeling when you are not distracting yourself. I kind of feel like this goes along with this so far. I don't know about you. It resonates. Aura light spirit calls you to be mindful of your needs right now. For this may be a time to let tears flow or laughter arise, to recognize something so subtle that you previously missed it, or to understand that you are so much more than what you can accomplish or produce. Be here in this moment, fully present and accepting of what is. Make the time to meditate today and simply observe what you know and feel without starting to talk yourself out of it. Well, I have to pause there. I'm so sorry. What did I say about about when our Nine of Wands came in here? They're in their head almost talking themselves out of this, right? Telling themselves, I'm comfortable with being my lone wolf self, right? Like, because there would be a lot of things that they have to do in order to move forward cleanly with you. So I like this. This does resonate to me. Where was I here? No matter how hard this moment may seem, simply by observing it, you will change it. Look at that. See? Observing. That's where we are observing. I really like this. All right, let's see. Move into relationship message here. Let's see if we still resonate. Are you mindful of what is going on right now in your relationship, its qualities and patterns? Aura light spirit wants you to observe what is working so you can build upon it, and to see what is not working so you can begin to address it. Wow. I'm sorry, but this so resonates for me. This absolutely resonates to me. This is a lot of what I was saying. Okay, let's see. Where was I? Sorry, I got excited because I really feel like this absolutely goes along with what I was saying in this reading. Where was I? Okay, build upon it. I'm working to address it. Be fully present in your relationship today. See, that's what they're doing. They're trying to work on being fully present. They want to be fully present. Meditate, and then as you interact with those you love, pay attention, observing without judgment, noticing what is happening without spinning a story of shoulds or ought to haves. Open your eyes that you might deepen your love and connection. For now, your ability to be present and free of distractions is very strong. I feel that as I was reading this, I just kept getting this overwhelmingly strong, like, emotion that was a validation, validation for me, because it fits so perfect in my opinion anyway. There might be someone out there who disagrees, but let's see. Embrace, and again, this is about from almost as if spirit was talking to your person, right? Embrace your ability to be present in the now instead of lost in the past, thinking about the should-haves or wandering aimlessly in the future, worried about the what-ifs. Aura Light Spirit is here to amplify your consciousness of this moment and your experience of prosperity. You have much to build upon, so let go of your fear and just see and know what is yours right now. What opportunities are at your door? Opportunities, opportunities, opportunities. What opportunities are at your door? What have you gathered? Wisdom, knowledge, and wealth? That can remind you of your ability to bring about the prosperity you seek. Meditation will help you see the answers. Crystal Spirit Meditation. Aura Light contains 23 different minerals and is a healer. Ooh, we got the healer. On so many levels. No one benefit outweighs the others. Starting slowly, meditating with this stone for short periods of time regularly allows us to become used to its energy. It works on all the chakras and is a stone that can be used effectively to address any issue of the mind, body, or spirit. Wow. I don't know about anyone else, but I kind of got excited with how much that resonated. That is why, you know what's funny? I don't use this often, and I think it's just because, like I said, these cards are bigger and bulkier, so they don't necessarily shuffle so nicely. But I'm definitely glad I pulled this. I am. All right. If this resonated for you, I would assume that it did if you're here this far into the video. Please like, and I would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate a sub from you if you've enjoyed this video and its content. I'd like to continue creating videos, and in order to do that, I have to try and grow this channel a little bit, you know? So once again, I thank you for joining me for another video. I appreciate it so much. You have no idea. Much love.